I bang on about stress. I like to ask everybody, what is the impact of stress? Because in each different part of our body, stress impacts it differently, but it's all connected. We've got the gut brain connection. We've got so many different things. I was speaking to someone yesterday and they said how the pelvic floor is actually linked to our jaw and the bottom of our feet. And I'm like, oh my goodness, there's more links. Like, it just seems quite endless. And then, of course, our lifestyle factors can be so influential in, how we digest dairy. Like, how
Absolutely.
is that even, like, talk me through the science there. Why does our lifestyle factors impact how we can digest?
Yeah. So when we are excessively stressed, it affects so many different things within our digestive system. So it could be either excessively stressed, where something really stressful has just happened, a bereavement, for example, something like that, or just low level chronic stress that we're not getting on top of. All those niggling things, high pressure stuff that gets on top of us all the time, but we try and sweep it under the rug and get on with it. What happens in that kind of fight or flight state where our cortisol's raised is that our stomach acid changes, our pH within our stomach changes. And if everyone tries to remember back to like GCSE biology, that different bacteria grow in different acidity or alkalinic environments, right? So the difference in that pH can then affect which bacteria can thrive and survive. And so then our gut bacteria is changed by that chronic stress. And then that puts us into this kind of chronic stress state. What's really, I think, completely fascinating is that the more stressed we are, we then end up with a gut microbiome that's like primed for stress. So your gut microbiome then dampens down your immune system. So you're more, because it's like we need to get in control of things. It increases inflammation. It actually has a feedback loop with your HPA axis, so where your cortisol is produced in your brain. And it says, we need more cortisol, we need more cortisol. So your gut bacteria triggers more cortisol to be produced in response to stress. And you can really stay in that loop for a long time. So it's everything is being affected by stress. So when our gut bacteria change, our tolerance of different foods changes, our sensitivity to the amounts of gas and things like that in our bowel is changed. And that can then be that sort of short-term or chronic stress can be really perpetuated by gut bacterial changes over a longer period of time.
It's pretty crazy, actually, that explanation there. So our stress kind of changes our gut bacteria, which then puts us in this loop where it kind of processes it in that way. And you kind of said chronic stress there is that situation, that manifestation of that. What do you define as chronic stress? What are we kind of talking
Yeah,
about?
good question. I mean, when I'm working with patients, I would suggest that most of them are under some kind of chronic stress. And that's not because we all necessarily are, we all don't manage it very well, but it's, I think, because we don't really detect it. Some people don't really realize how much pressure and stress they're under. And for some people, they've done loads of work on themselves. They maybe have loads of great meditative practices, for example, or things that they do to manage stress. And so they do have a lot of pressure in their life, but it doesn't manifest for them physically. Whereas other people are under huge amounts of stress, and sometimes I can even see it on their face or in their actions or in the way they are conversating with me, but they don't recognize it, and that can be a trickier conversation.
And what about the more fleeting, stressful moments? I'm sure everybody's been in that situation where they have, maybe if it's like an athletic event, okay, I need to fuel up here, or maybe they have an interview, I need to have some, good food so I don't be grumpy to the people I'm trying to get, to like me or whatever it is. And of course, you've got to run to the loo, and it's just all out before you've even kind of thought about it. What's happening there?
Yeah, so that's our kind of very immediate fight or flight response. So your body is going, okay, in a minute I'm going to have to run or fight. So let me get rid of everything that's in my body because I don't want to carry this around with me when I'm going into this situation.
Meanwhile, we're shoveling pasta into our mouths and hoping for the
Like trying to fuel up, right? It's really inconvenient. And actually, some people experience that and some people don't. And those that don't probably have different gut bacteria and less propensity to things like IBS than those who experience that quite a lot. I'm lucky enough to work with some really high level athletes, and working on preventing nervous poos is a big part of my job with those people because, of course, if you're in the middle of a rugby match or you're in the middle just about to go and do an athletic event, the last thing you want to do is have an accident on the pitch or have an accident on the field.
So what's your process? What do you do? What's the kind of, what do you work through?
So we would think very carefully about what they eat in preparation. We'd look at any ongoing kind of chronic symptoms. And it's all this gut bacteria work again, right? So trying to reverse that. But really, the main thing is let's eat the things that are least likely to make that happen on the lead up to that event.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. So many bits to cover, and you kind of talk a bit about, on your social media and so on, about examining our poo. Again, the glamour of this, but so important. We all go through it. What does that actually mean? Like, what should we actually be looking for?
Yeah, great question. So I think we all could do with being a bit more aware of what's happening in the toilet, because actually your poo is a great reflection of how you've done that day. It's like a marker out of 10 for how your body's reacted to what you've eaten, right? So we want it to be a kind of a mid-brown color, so like a conker type brown color. That's a normal color for poo. The normal frequency of going to the toilet is between 3 times a day and 3 times a week. So for some people, it's not very frequent. For some people, it's more frequent. Anything outside of that, if you're only going for a poo like twice a week, or you're having your bowels open 4 or 5 times a day, that's a good thing to have a chat with somebody about, especially if that changes. So you used to be a 3 a day person and now you're a 5 a day person. Go and get that checked out. We want it to be like a smooth sausage consistency. So we don't want it to be like those hard pebbles, and we don't want it to be so loose that it doesn't hold together in the toilet. It needs to have some kind of form. Ideally, also, we don't want it to be those kind of held together hard pebbles. We want it to be smooth and sausage like. And that's the consistency that means that you're getting plenty of fiber, you're keeping well hydrated, and you're doing all the good stuff. So those are kind of the main things. We don't want to see any blood in the toilet. If we do, we definitely need to go and see the doctor. Even if you think it's just hemorrhoids or just a tear or anything like that, please go and see the doctor. And really, really importantly, if you do notice any change in bowel habits, so that switch from being 3 times a week to 3 times a day, really important to go and get that checked out.